42 people here, so let's get started, and Steph will continue to let people in. But so we're going to try something a little different today. I want to welcome everybody to the October team meeting. We have pre-recorded parts of this, not all of it, but parts of it. So I will be live, I will be on video, we'll be going in and out. So bear with us. We thought that this might be a little different, but instead of trying to get panels or discussions going with all these little boxes, we thought it would be, you know, a little more impactful if we had it on video. So as we get started here, let's, Shane, I would like to welcome Shane, who is our representative from Atlantic Home Loans. So Shane, what's going on with the mortgage industry right now?
All right.
Are you busy?
Yes, we are busy. We are dealing with, I've been dealing with a lot of overflow, guys, that, you know, so many banks, so many appraisers, title companies, banks are just absolutely swamped. And obviously that increases their turnaround times as far as getting an appraisal done, as far as getting title work done, as far as getting a loan approved. So I've taken like 4 deals in the past 2 weeks, really past 4 weeks that are that, you know, the other company, maybe it was 55 days in process and it's not approved yet. One loan was 45 days in process, and they're being told that the underwriter is going to look at it soon. And the seller has just had it, and the seller said, you know, you've missed your commitment date by 2 or 3 weeks. So we are getting a lot of those, and we just had one where they were past their closing date, and we took the application on September 20th and cleared it to close on October 12th. Now the customer had a full file ready to go, and we got everything ready, and it's going to close next week. So that is a success story. Had a self-employed borrower, not self-employed for 24 months. Now, most mortgage programs are going to say that you need to be self-employed for 24 months. Like a realtor would need to have 24 months of self-employment. We have a program that says if you have a full 12 months of tax returns, we can use that income. And hopefully there is positive income there with a new business. But we were able to get a customer approved and closed last week on that. So keep in mind that if you're doing quick commitments or quick closings, which I would say anything, you know, a closing less than 35 days is very quick in this environment. A commitment less than 25 days is very quick in this environment. Because if I order an appraisal normal right now, guys, it's 3 weeks to get it back. I can rush it and get it back in a week and a half or 2 weeks, but it does cost the buyer an extra $100. So if you're scheduling a quick commitment, you might want to just prep them and say, hey, you might need to pay a rush fee, but hey, there's 5 other offers. We told the seller we'd close in 30 days, and this is what we've got to do to secure the property. So a couple of, tips to remember if you're scheduling that quick closing, which I know it's not easy to get these offers accepted these days.
Oh, Shane, that's a great tip about, you know, the rush for the appraisal. So guys, you know, keep that in mind. I mean, in the scheme of things, $100 is really not probably going to make or break a deal, but it could actually make the deal for you. Does anybody have any questions for Shane? You'd have to unmute yourself if you do. Well, that was easy. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Lizette, what's going on?
So much is going on. I first want to start by congratulating agents that are supporting us as their title partner. I think that they deserve a shout out for their September closing. So I'm just going to name them: Carolee, Kevin, and Sarah. I'm not sure if the slide may, oh, perfect. Thank you. Laser, Danielle, Michael, Ketley, Jillian had 3 closings with Carnegie. Sherry, JP had 2 closings. Donna, Gary, Regina, Elisa, Roger, congratulations on your September closings with Carnegie and supporting us. And you're also, yes, thank you very much. You're also supporting your market center. And I just want to say it's really important to have your team in place, your title company, your lender that you work with, and your preferred attorney that you work with. I see Frank Uzi on this call. He's one of the preferred attorneys that we work with. And he was selected by you, the agents. You pick the attorneys that are on that preferred attorney list. Continue using the 7 words. Please use Carnegie Title on my transaction. I'm here to help you with flood determinations, lien searches, any title related questions. Make sure that you use us as a partner and to help you in your transaction.
And if you are using an attorney that you would love Lizette to speak to, just give Lizette a call.
Absolutely, yes. If it's your preferred attorney that you like to work with, let me know. We'll talk about it and we will discuss that further. Yes.
And Anand just said yes, and they do title in New York too, so thank you for that.
Yes, we do.
Thanks, Lizette. This is a little video that Patty and I pre-recorded, so let's sit back and...
Welcome to our October team meeting.
We love technology. Welcome to our October team meeting. I think we've been there already. So who, may I ask what's going on with the video? There we go. Let's try this again.
I know it does. And listen, I do make mistakes. The ALC meeting I put down for 11 p.m. tomorrow night, please. That would be yesterday in the future world. But anyway, okay, welcome to our October team meeting. So our Bourbon County Partners visions and values is our core purpose. Why do we exist, Patty?
We are the real estate company that changes people's lives.
Our core values. How do we behave? These values will not change over time. When tough decisions need to be made, we will make them based on whether the decision is consistent with our core values or not.
We're learning based. Our leadership team will attend training, read books, and constantly seek to upgrade their skills to better serve our agents. They will encourage our agents to do the same.
We should know this by heart.
I know.
Servant leadership. We lead by serving. We are leaders and business consultants, not managers or staff members. We will never forget that without our agents, we would not have a career. Every person in our organization has value and deserves civility, trust, and respect.
And fun, even more than being wealthy. We want our agents to be happy. We will accomplish this by making our market centers a fun, enjoyable place to work with a light, very social atmosphere. We will host frequent, fun, and interesting events.
Food truck was interesting.
And fun.
It was fun. Yeah. Teamwork. Great teams do not hold back with one another. They are unafraid to air their dirty laundry. They admit their mistakes, their weaknesses, and their concerns without fear of reprisal. They are hungry, humble, and smart. Patrick Lencioni. We have a couple cappers to congratulate this month. And Danielle Rosa DeVito, congratulations on capping. Woohoo! And Donna Raimondo, congratulations, Donna. Oh, and our September top 5 teams and top 10 individuals.
Thank you.
Congratulations, JP, the Ganji group, the Bergen Realty team, the Raimondo team, and the Anthony G team.
And the individuals, Gary Silverstein, Carol Lee, AJ, Danielle, Sherry,
Shirley, Sarah and Kevin, Douglas, Anna, and David and McCall. Congratulations, everyone.
Good job.
Yep.
Good job. And
I'll
welcome.
leave this to you.
Okay, yeah. And welcome to a nice core group of new people. And I'd like to introduce them. Mybel, Chris, Caroline, Harul, Mike, Hugo, Cheryl, and Nabila. Welcome all.
Welcome everyone.
Glad you're part of our team.
Yeah. So I had a great conversation with Cheryl Cooper about why she joined KW. So we're going to run that now. And then immediately following that, Randy and Carolee and I also had a conversation about multiple offers. So
That'll be interesting.
let's go.
Yeah.
Hey Cheryl, how are you? So I don't know, I think a lot of people know you, but just in case you don't, this is Cheryl Cooper, and she joined us how long ago?
2.5 weeks.
It feels like more, doesn't it? So I really wanted to have a conversation with you. How long have you been doing real estate?
I've been doing real estate for 26 years.
26 years. Why Keller Williams?
And that's a good question. So if you were to ask me last year, the year before, previous years, to say, do you ever picture yourself at Keller Williams? I would have been absolutely not happening. But this year something happened. COVID hit. And so I was home, just like everybody else. And when I was home, I was wondering, what's going to happen in my business? Because there was a few weeks there that
We were
everything
scared. Yeah, we didn't know what to
super
do.
scared, and really didn't know what was happening. Never been through a COVID market before, and you reached out and you said, "Hey, we're doing Bold, and would you like to join?" And I liked that, so I did join and kind of did a few sessions at Bold. And as we were communicating and you were sending emails and asking me, hey, how did you like this or that, I realized something. I realized that the previous company that I was with, not one time did leadership reach out to me. And that really touched me. And so it really got the wheels going in my head. And when we started to trickle back into the office, and I went back into my previous office, it just didn't feel right. There was just something, there was a disconnect, and there was a total disconnect with my leadership. And it was, I mean, it just was not a good feeling. And so I decided that I should look at my options. And I had called Al, and then Al, yourself, and myself, we sat down and we met. And it was a great meeting. When I left the meeting and I got in my car, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how well this happened. And I think I love it.
Oh my God. And I'm going to attribute that to, and we've had that conversation, that we don't tell our story enough. You're being told the story from your manager or people that have been called who don't know anything about us, that, you know, and listen, guys, because, you know, we need to tell our story, because it's not what's being told out there from people that aren't part of us.
You're absolutely right, because one thing that I recognize, so yes, there was, you know, Keller Williams has that, you know, he was, oh, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. and, you know, but what I realized is that I was drinking Kool-Aid, but it was my previous company's Kool-Aid. It wasn't red Kool-Aid. Because they were busy saying, oh, well, if you know, go to Keller Williams, you're going to have to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to be, you know, hunting down your fellow agents, seeing, you know, join Keller Williams. Like that's all I was going to do was recruit. And the fact of the matter is that that's really not the issue at all. I know that I'm still in the new phase, the honeymoon phase. I said, but I haven't been this happy in a long time.
Yeah, you told me that the other day too. You
Yeah.
just feel better.
It's
the way I felt when I joined the company too. It was like somebody turned the lights on.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a euphoric feeling of, I feel like I'm supported. I feel like I have the people around me finally that are going to help me get to the next level. So I'm ready to break a ceiling in my business, and I felt like I was stifled at my previous company, and now I see the possibilities. I can see that in front of me, and it's the first time that I can actually see it. So I'm excited. I'm just really excited to keep learning, and it is a big learning curve, but you know, we all benefit from education.
I know, and you are doing pretty well. You're pretty busy. I know a lot of you are really busy too, but this is really, I mean, you hit the ground sprinting.
I came in here with 15 transactions,
Yeah.
and that was all
Crazy.
So I just happened to hit it, I should say. And so yes, so it's a lot of craziness and busyness, but you know, most realtors, that's how we live. We actually live on that adrenaline. So.
Well, thank you for doing this, and welcome. We're really happy to have you on our team.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody and everybody's kindness. And one thing I would tell you with Ellie, I'm not used to this. So you walk in, she's like, hi, good morning, or good night. I wasn't used to that, because my previous office, we would just kind of bypass each other. And I thanked her the other day. I said, thank you so much for always saying good morning and good night. It means a lot. So,
well, Ellie is the best.
She is.
Hope she sees this.
Well, so a big welcome to Cheryl Cooper, and I want to thank her for doing that. And Ellie is the best. Ellie, are you there? Did you hear that? Well,
I did, and I appreciate it, but that's just me. I love seeing people when they come in, so I want them to know I appreciate them.
So next on our agenda is Frank here. Frank?
Yes, hi, good morning, I'm here.
Frank?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you raise your volume a little? Am I the only one having trouble hearing him?
You guys.
Little feedback.
Yeah, I hear that on the side too. Any better now?
Yeah, we're good now, Frank.
Okay, great.
So what are we going to talk about today?
So I want to talk a little bit about the multiple offer situations that everybody seems to be finding themselves thrust into in the last couple of weeks. And, you know, I think it's very important that, just to piggyback first off from what was discussed earlier, the team is critical. So a lot of deals are getting spoiled at certain points in the deal where they really shouldn't be, and that is financing and that is title. So, you know, what you heard Shane speak about and Lizette speak about is absolutely happening. And, you know, at least on the attorney side, I breathe a sigh of relief when I know those players. I know that I have Carnegie title on a transaction. Even if I'm on the selling end, it's nice because that rapport is there. And you know, Shane, again, things happen, right? No one's immune to that. But it's the ability to pick up the phone and solve problems that makes all the difference. So, you know, first off, yes, the market is going strong. There are multiple offers, but critical component is that team, because no one does it alone. I don't care who you are, what role you play, it's a team effort. But that being said, where do we go with the multiple offers? You know, the biggest promise that gets unfulfilled a lot of times becomes timing. So when you have a client that is submitting an offer, right, the keywords everyone likes to hang on is a quick close. We'll do a quick closing. So I think it's important that we recognize what's actually possible at this point in time. When we say a quick closing and you have financing and inspections, you know, we can't close in 30 days without all those other components happening first, right? So when you have financing, if we're going to say it's a quick closing and we're going to close this in 30 days, is it possible? It's absolutely possible. But again, who are the players there? So before we commit to that, right, because this is how good deals turn difficult or turn bad. If we're going to throw out a 30-day window, I suggest that we find out who the lender is. Any influence that you can have on making it a preferred lender, somebody that you can work with, is critical. Have the conversation. Let them, you know, they've hopefully done a pre-qualification. Let them look at the deal. Appraisers are running behind. So sometimes a deal can be approved subject to an appraisal that can't happen for 3 weeks. Now, we have to balance that against agents who are going to, as you know full well, say things that are not true. I mean, you see this when you're trying to sell a deal too. So we have to make sure we try to do a little bit of legwork, make sure what we're saying is realistic. Another way that you can win some deals, though, is try to limit your inspections. Be careful not to waive inspections. We've encountered this a couple of times where words get kind of mixed up and agents say, well, my client's waiving their inspection. And what we really mean is we're limiting inspection. The difference is this. Limiting the inspection says we're not nickel and diming you. We're going to come through. We're going to look at the major structural, major safety components of the home. And as long as everything's majorly okay, we're in the deal. If we encounter a big problem, a safety or a costly issue, we may have to have a discussion. So that's limiting your inspections. And again, keywords there, limiting to structural, safety, usually environmental as well. When you say we're going to waive inspections, to an attorney, that means you're not coming into the house. You don't get to come back. You don't get to do a tank sweep. You're not checking for termites. You are doing nothing. So be careful. We've had a deal that really went sideways because of that exact issue. That the words were the buyer's waiving their inspections, and then it turned around. They turned around and kind of said, well, wait a minute, we're not actually waiving them. We're just not going to nickel and dime you. And there was a little pushback there, but again, communication is important too. I know I have to be cognizant of it, and I suggest all of you do as well. When you are talking to your clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, try not to throw the lingo around that we use with each other, because sometimes that translates to a customer or to your client to mean something thoroughly different than it means to you and I. So a few minutes of dialogue, a few minutes of due diligence, making calls to the lenders to find out turn times and abilities for how we can fit them in, will help your offers be stronger. And at the end of the day, sometimes the truth wins out over promising, things that can't be delivered. So, your reputation is everything. Keep it clean, keep it honest, and, you always put your best foot forward. If anybody has anything they'd like to ask me, I'm happy to field any questions on this or anything else you might want to bounce off me.
So Frank, in the chat box, Sherry Marino said, what about if you limit it to structural environmental? Is that good wording? The inspections?
Yes, structural and environmental certainly cover most of the big hits, such as oil tanks, roof, foundation. What is in a gray area would be your major system. So your plumbing, your HVAC, your electrical. So we can live with it in a legal world if it says structural, because during attorney review, we'll further break that definition down to say that structural includes major system components. But if you can slip that in there, you don't want to put too much, because then it kind of takes away the effect. But certainly major systems, structural, environmental. But again, we can always clean the language up. But again, keyword is limited and not waived.
Does anybody have a question for Frank? Just unmute yourself. So Frank, thank you. Look at this. Nobody has a question. Let me just check in the chat.
I have a question.
Miriam?
Yes. So when he means they're limiting to structuring and environmental, he means that the plumbing and the electrical are not gonna be checked, and that if something happens after they sold the home, they're no. They cannot be sued if something happened with the electrical or the plumbing system?
So correct. Let me break that answer up into two components. First is that understand when we limit the inspections, you can still bring the home inspector through. What we're saying is that the buyer in that case will not bring up as a concern things that are minor. But you can still certainly do the inspection. You have to have the home inspector come through. It's not that they're not going to do a full inspection. We're just limiting what we'll object to if any of these things come to the surface. The second part to your question about what happens after closing, and this is a good point, and we deal with it a lot. The law is such as this, and this bodes for both New York and New Jersey. Representations in the contract generally do not survive closing. What that means is they die at the closing table. So all those promises, all those representations, any of your inspection issues, when we walk out of the closing and it's done, there's no going back. Anything else is simply buyer's remorse at that point. There are a few things that would let you claw back, but they're very difficult and they're very rare. They would have to be fraud. They would have to be intentional concealment. So that's where somebody knows they have an issue. So they know verifiably, say, for example, that they have a mold issue on a wall, and right before, they put the house up, they put a fresh coat of, Kills or some kind of cover paint. They place a big giant painting on the wall to cover up where the mold is bleeding through. someone buys the house, the painting's gone, they hit it with another coat of paint, and 2 days later, the black mold starts bleeding through the sheetrock. That you don't get to turn around and say, hey, it didn't survive closing because, this is malicious, this is intentional, it's essentially fraud. Absent something to that level or something that we intentionally promise we will take care of after we're no longer the owner of the house, does not survive closing. And that goes for buyer and seller. So that's why your walkthrough is important. That's your last chance to take a look at the property. It's the last chance for the buyer and seller to settle any issues they may have, whether it be to postpone a closing, to solve it with their credit. But once that money is paid and the deed is transferred, it's pretty much lights out unless we intentionally hold that issue open for some reason, which we normally don't.
Frank, what about when the wording of discovery for inspections for discovery purpose only?
So for discovery, in terms of when we use that language, what we're saying is it's essentially for your information. So sometimes that is with the right to cancel and sometimes without the right to cancel. So, we use it two different ways. So what that essentially says is a buyer of a property can come in and check anything they want, just so they're aware. They can go in essentially eyes wide open and they know what they're getting and what they're not getting. What we do with that information is questioning at that point, does that buyer then have the right to cancel, or do they not, unless it's limited, again, to structural or environmental. So a lot of times in commercial or investment, we'll use that language if there's a reduced purchase price. We're going to say, hey, look, at the price you're getting it, it's as is. You can do some due diligence, but it's for information only, just so you got a heads up and a leg up on what that buyer is going to have to undo or tackle once they become the owner. But we certainly can give it a right to cancel too. We usually kind of limit that and say, hey, look, the inspections are for your information only. There'll be no further negotiation, no repairs. But if you're not happy, you can walk off the deal. And we usually limit that to like 7 or 10 days if we're doing it that way.
Any other questions for Frank? Frank, thank you. We're going to have a little video on this discussion also if you want to hang around in case anything else comes up. But I had a little chat with Carolee and Randy about bidding wars.
I've invited Carolee and Randy today to discuss something that is happening a lot, and that's the multiple offer situation, the best and final. I mean, sometimes we can have, oh my God, 10 offers on a property. So just sort of like I want to ask Carolee's viewpoint, and I'll start with you, Carolee. How do you win them?
Well, obviously there's multiple ways to do that. Of course, pricing is always the most important, but closing date is important, the amount of money you have down. I've had buyers waive their appraisal because once you go over the price, we always worry about the property appraising. So you can waive the appraisal contingency. Home inspections, usually for structural and safety issues, environmental. There are escalation clauses, and I usually ask the other agent if the seller is open to an escalation clause, because some sellers feel like it's not a fair situation. So I ask that first before we do it, and then that's something that we can try to do to beat out the other buyers.
And we were chatting about that before we started the video, and Carolee said she likes it when she uses it and gets them, but she doesn't like them when they're used on her listings. So you have to be pretty careful with it.
Absolutely.
You really do, and I think asking in advance is a great way to do it.
Yeah, because some sellers feel it's an unfair advantage, and that could turn them off. So, and also some agents don't really understand how to explain it to their sellers, so that's important too.
Are you seeing any buyer's remorse with people that do win the bidding war? Like they think they've overpaid for it. They got a chuckle.
No, they try to grab it back or claw it back to like the home inspection. Well, they could want 30, 50 grand over, and now we're going to kill it on the home inspection. I think the next day they get all kinds of credits they'd like back. Yeah. It makes it very difficult to
I'm not in this
to deal with
market,
the
but I
seller
was in that
buyer.
last market and we were using all these things, striking this, striking that. You were right. I mean, then all of a sudden they feel like if I went up that high, did I overpay for it? And then you get a lot of buyer's remorse. So stay in there if you're the second or third offer, because a lot of times that first one is falling apart.
And I think that happens even more when you've accepted an offer and then somebody comes in higher to knock them out. And if you do let them knock them out, that person feels like they should get money back now because they went over the price.
So Randy, is there anything we should know that we have to do from a broker standpoint?
It's kind of like we talked about a lot at meetings, Kyle. This is a sport in a way. It's definitely competition, especially when you have overbidding. And as an agent, you have to be prepared. You have to do what Carolee's saying. You have to do your research beforehand. If you're going to use an escalation clause, and honestly, we don't use it too often, and I'm not a fan of it, but some agents here like to use it occasionally. So I would say less than 10% of the time our company is using it. But you need to be prepared and prepare your buyer education-wise to what they can pay or how they're going to win the situation.
Let me just stop you there a second, because I've had this question. How do you put the escalation clause in the contract? Is it an additional comments? I mean, how do you write it up in the contract?
We're not lawyers. Right. I would be careful. I would just
in the offer. Put it in the offer.
I would
There is a form.
I would put in there is a form. I don't even have it handy, the form. But I just told one of our agents last week that just write the basic language on the last page of the contract in the blank spot above the signatures that the buyers were willing to pay $5,000 more than the next party, and just leave it like that. Leave it to your attorney.
Up to a certain
Up to maybe
amount.
if there's a limit, if there's up to a certain amount, because the buyers can say, I don't want to go to 500, Colleen, because the house is only worth 400, so they don't get. So you could cap it, and I put it on the last page of the contract in some kind of simple language that everybody understands. I've just kind of started with Weicker, our friendly competitor,
That's
several
the
years
first time
ago.
somebody used it against me when I had a listing.
It's a little crazy, and they have a little more language. I'm not sure we need that. We want to win the contract if you can, and let the lawyer probably address the escalation clause in legal terms.
Right. I know the first time somebody used it against me, and we're talking a long time ago, I caught on the phone and called an attorney, and I went, is this legal? I mean, because I had never even heard of anything like that. The only thing that I would feel about capping it, and I know it's a good thing to do, but if I were the seller and they capped it, say, at 440, I would be like, well, why aren't they coming in at 440? So I don't know if the cap is necessary. We always have that 3 day.
That's why I think Carolee's saying some sellers are going to be turned off. They're going to say, well, this is kind of not cheating, but it's kind of cheating against the other the other 4 offers because they're not offering probably that. Right. And why doesn't this buyer who has an escalation clause just offer me the most money they think they can handle? And so they feel like they're kind of cheating everybody else.
Sorry, phone's on. No calls, no calls.
In legal terms, I think you're okay to use basic language in the last page of the contract. You have to be aware of what Carolee's saying. Be prepare your buyer of how this market works with multiple offers. Do your research to know what the value might be, which is very difficult because you might have an appraisal problem, or you might have your buyer clawing back some of the money during home inspection. That's always the problem too. So I think if you tell your buyer you won the bid and we're 20,000 over, you need to tell them what Carolee said a minute ago, that it's inspection for structural, environmental only, and we're not going to worry about the doorknobs and the crack in the wall.
And I do,
but
we all have stories. You know, I had a light bulb story once.
And I do think that the more you can talk to the listing agent ahead of time, the more questions and conversation you have with them, the more insight you'll get into maybe what the other offers are, how closely you're competing. If you have a relationship with the agent, it's even better. They might help. I just had a deal with the house and somebody from the Ridgewood office who was very helpful. I mean, she really helped us to
know, knowing when the closing, when they really want to close, knowing, how much, I'm sorry, I know that there's a lot of, FHA loans and everything out there, but if you have a good down payment, that should rise you higher than somebody, especially, for the appraisal.
And although an agent will say, I can't tell you what the offer is, and they can't, if you ask enough of the right questions, you can kind of get a sense.
Right, and they can with the owner's,
yes,
the seller's permission. So you never know what you might be able to
The more
get.
questions you ask Colleen, and that's what Carolee and I would do, ask a lot of questions. The better relationship you have with that person. If you come on real heavy and are really tough with the other agent, frankly, you're going to go probably to the bottom of the list. And if the bids are close, the other agent just has to say a couple words to their homeowner and you might be out. So the better relationship you can have with the listing agent, and the more questions you ask and the nicer you are to them, you may just glean some extra little information or an edge that they may volunteer or not volunteer by mistake sometimes. That might help you get the edge. And the nicer you are with them and the better relationship, you're going to have a better chance to make the deal.
And on that note, since you're a listing agent, I mean, does a letter help?
I think letters, we just have something in Westwood, we have 5 offers, and 3 of the people wrote letters, and the owner was like, oh, I was so impressed with the letters, is this something new?
But I mean, I used to get the pictures of the kids.
Yeah,
I mean, they really
now they
don't
really
know.
have the dog and all of that, but I was going to say for new agents that maybe don't know some of these listing agents, you should maybe ask some of the more experienced agents in the office if you need some help to maybe, if we know the agent and have a relationship, we might be able to help a little bit.
I mean, when and I'm sure you're the same, when anybody comes in and asks me a question, I'm like, who's the agent on the other side? Because then you're going to have a real flavor of what the transaction's going to look like.
Exactly.
And if you have a relationship, and if you don't, maybe Carol Lee would know the person and I don't, or vice versa, or you might know Colleen. So it does help you get a leg up on the competition. That's sometimes what you need to kind of glean a little more about what the other people are offering. They're not supposed to tell you, but sometimes in conversation it'll come out, and that might win the bid for you. I hate that you can say the
And
word
this is
bid,
the
I don't
reason
like
we
that.
say to have good relationships, no matter who's on the other end.
Yep.
To never burn your bridges with other agents, because there's going to be a time when the bidding comes that you're going to hope to hear the words, oh, I'd really like to work with you.
Right.
And that helps you get the deal as well, because they know that you're easy to work with and you say what you mean and your word is good. So.
Well, I hope you got something out of this, and thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
We're all here for you.
Well, that ended up being a lot about, about the escalation clause. Thank you. I mean, it was fun with Carolee and Randy. Joanne, are you on now or? Oh.
So thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Randy and Carolee, for sitting down with me and having a chat. Also want to jump to our Mega Camp wrap-up. So it's like Big Brother. We know exactly what everybody did at Mega Camp, and we want to congratulate Hugo because he literally went to 56 breakouts.
Oh my
now,
gosh.
I know. Now, you do know that you have that opportunity to go back into breakouts. You go back into breakouts for 60 days from the date of Mega Camp. So keep going back in and watching things that you missed. But congratulations to Hugo. Jeff Adler watched 34. Chris Hampton, 27. And then Sarah, Gigi, and Andy, they were all tied at 25. So congratulations, guys. You really took advantage of Mega Camp, and I know it's going to show in your business. And Hugo, because you did 56, we've got a special prize for you. We're paying for your Bold registration. So reach out to Joanne, and if you do as well with Bold as you did with Mega Camp,
Amazing.
set up
We're
for
gonna-
success.
Absolutely.
Congratulations,
And watch
everyone.
you soar.
Yep. So now we have Joanne, who has, is this the PowerPoint, Joanne? A really good PowerPoint about command and opportunities, correct? Okay.
So this is a short presentation on how Command, DocuSign, and Dotloop really interact together to hopefully clear up some confusion that there may be around the topic and really allow you to see the value of Command and the value that DocuSign is going to bring when we do make that switch over into that platform next year. So what I want to do is I want to zoom in into this presentation right there, and I want you to see the 6 different steps that go into a transaction. The first one is we enter a lead or a contact into Command. Remember, it's very important for you to first enter the contact into your Command database, and then once that contact has an intent to buy, sell, or rent with you, this is the red intent line, that's when they become an opportunity. You don't create an opportunity for a contact unless that contact has expressed intent and intention to move along, buy, sell, or rent with you. So once they move on beyond the intent line, that's when you'll go ahead and start an opportunity for that client, right? So create an opportunity for a lead that decides to sell or buy a home. Be very, very mindful that in this first step, you need to decide and you need to specify what type of transaction you'll be conducting with that client. If it's going to be a listing, as you're going to sell their property, if they're going to buy a house, or if you're going to represent them as a landlord, so they want to list their apartment up for rent, or if they want to rent. Those are the 4 different transaction types that we have, the 4 different opportunity types that we have in Command. And after you've done that, after you created the general information for the opportunity and you've entered those details in there, this is where we're going to go into the use your document manager to upload all necessary documents to your opportunity. And this is where Dotloop and DocuSign come into play. As you can see on step 3, we're actually moving outside of Command. This white box is Command. This is KW Command. These are the opportunities. Once you've entered the contact, created the opportunity, and within that opportunity is where we're going to go ahead and create the link, or create the room or the loop, right? If you're using Dotloop, you'll go ahead and choose Dotloop, and you're going to follow the normal transaction process there. You're going to pre-fill the documents, you're going to add the people that need to get signatures, and you're going to send those documents out for signatures. If you're going to use DocuSign, it's a similar step. It's going to be called a room. So you're going to create a room, you're going to add the documents that are needed for that transaction, and you're going to send the signatures out. When we say send the signatures out, in DocuSign lingo, it's called an envelope. So you're going to be sending an envelope out to the people that need to sign. And then we'll move on to the 4th step, which is it moves forward, they go on their contract, they submit an offer, and that's the point where we actually need to bring the documents back from DocuSign. As you saw those arrows, no longer they go out, they go back into Command. So all of the documents have been pre-filled in DocuSign or Dotloop, they've been signed and fully executed there, and now it's time to bring them back into Command for the compliance review. And this is what Ellie does. She's going to make sure that everything is pre-filled correctly, that the signatures are correct, and that everything that is needed is in place. And that's when you're going to bring those documents back from DocuSign or Dotloop. And once that is done and you submit for compliance review and you're good to go, then we go on to step number 6, which is where I come into play, paid. So if you follow these steps correctly and you're doing it as the transaction evolves, this is where it's going to pay off. In the getting paid. Why? And this is the reason why you will get paid quicker. Some of the benefits is you will get paid faster. Because when I went to process the payment and check for compliance, I saw these 3 check marks. They say approved, listed, approved, under contract, approved, closed, approved. That means that in all 3 sections, all the documents that they did are completed, they have been reviewed by Ellie, and they're good to go. So this saves me time, because now I don't have to wait until Ellie goes and double checks again, which is something that we had to do in Dotloop. I can just myself make that judgment call that, okay, it says that they're all approved, they're good to go, the check is ready for you. But there have been instances where agents are getting paid the day of or the very following morning because they did everything accordingly in Command. So that's the benefit, the biggest benefit to you as an agent. By using Command, it allows us to overview everything, make sure that everything has been approved before the check arrives to the market center. And once it does arrive to the market center, I give the go-ahead and you get the payment immediately. The other thing is it's more efficient. It's efficient for you, it's efficient for us. We know what steps of the transaction are missing. We can give you feedback and give you notes on specific documents and why they need to be returned. And then for those of you who are new to the company or new to the industry, it's a guided compliance process, and you'll see why. Every single opportunity type, New Jersey, New York, buyer, listing, tenant, or landlord, commercial, they have different checklist, right? So as an agent, it's kind of tough to really understand, okay, this type of transaction, what documents are needed for that? And we're helping you with Command. And the reason how we're helping you is every single transaction type has a different checklist. For example, this one is a listing in New Jersey, a New Jersey residential listing. And as you'll see on the next slide, the buyer side for the New Jersey listing, New Jersey residential loop is different, right? You see the documents change. So no more calling or guessing or doubting if this document is applicable for this transaction. You have a guide up to you depending on that opportunity. You have a guide available to you depending on the opportunity that you created. This took a lot of time and effort that we from us. I know that Ellie, myself, and Stephanie were very involved in the creation of this checklist throughout COVID times when we were in lockdown, so use it to your benefit. If you see that there's a document that should be there, or if you have any questions about it, contact us. We can always come and rearrange this checklist and really make it the best that it needs to be to the agents. And something that will be coming relatively shortly, within a couple of weeks, in Command, you'll actually be able to click on, you'll actually be able to click on the affiliate business disclosure or the seller's disclosure in the checklist, and it'll bring you an empty document that you can print. So if you're doing hand signatures, you don't even have to create a loop anymore. You can just print it directly from there. Or if you're not sure, like the AFBA, what's an AFBA? You can click on the name, and it'll bring up the form itself, so you can see the form that we're looking for, and so you can go and find it and get it properly signed. And that's pretty much it. So we're excited to bring Command to you. Command is such a powerful tool. We understand that the process can be a little bit difficult, but we're here to help you out. We're here to help you and to really allow you to get the benefit of Command, of using Command. And again, the benefit is it's efficient, it guides you, and it gets you paid quick. So why not? Great. So again, if you have any questions, I'll be live later after in a few minutes to answer any questions that you may have. You can also just put questions in the chat box as well. I'll be able to answer there, or give us a call. We're here to help you out. We're here to make the transition easy, smooth, and valuable to all of our agents. And in addition to adding value to our agents, I am excited to present something new that is coming to our Market Center, or someone new that is coming to our Market Center. And this person is going to be the transaction coordinator for all of us. Her name is Laura Giambastiani. I hope I said that name correctly. We are currently training her so that she can provide all your transaction coordinator support as you may need, of course, at a discounted fee. The Market Center is doing this as an added service to our agents so that you guys can focus on the selling, on getting the clients, on really working those relationships that you're so good at, and letting all the paperwork and all the other processes through Command up to Laura so that she can take care of it. She will also be helping out agents in social media and campaigns, and pretty much all the nitty-gritty components of Command that really help you deliver value to your clients. So we're excited to welcome Laura onto the team, and we hope that you get to meet her soon enough.
Well, that was good. Laura, are you here to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm right here. Hi, everybody. My name's Laura. Thank you, Joanne, for giving me that intro. I think he kind of explains like my main role. So I just want to say again, reiterate that I can help you with a lot of your transaction work. Obviously, I'm getting trained in those areas still. The areas that I'm like most comfortable in already are marketing and social media, things like that. So I'm ready for that work. Any type of overload or any type of stuff that you would like to hand to me, I would love to help you. I'm just here to provide those services for you. I know Command and a lot of those things can be kind of hard to adjust to, and I'm really picking up on everything pretty quickly. So whatever you guys have for me, I would love to help. I should have a business card by the end of the week, and I have lots of flyers and stuff that I'm working on, so you guys can know exactly what I can do for you and what the fees will be and things like that. So thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to be a part of the team.
So, Laura, welcome. I'm really excited to have you in the Market Center. We've been saying we're looking, okay, and we found. And I think she'll be up and running really quickly. So what's next, Joanne? Where are we moving to in the next slide? Okay, so we have a new program. We're introducing the home buyer's warranty. Do we have somebody on to talk about this?
Colleen, I have a question about the last subject. Should I ask that at the end?
No, what is it?
So I know the CIS and both the COVID, they need to be signed. It always says by seller and buyer. I'm working with buyers. So in today's world, you don't only not see the seller, you don't even see the selling agent. Some agents are great and they put the COVID as part of the listing under documents, but they never put CIS. So is the expectation that I should send it out to the listing agent and ask their seller to get a signature and then get my buyer to sign it?
Are you talking about the CIS or the COVID?
Well, both. The COVID is easier because some agents put it in the documents, but nobody puts CIS.
Has to be signed. And Randy, are you on to back me up on this or tell me if I'm wrong? But that CIS is...
I am, Carl.
Yeah, isn't that between you and whatever, if you're working with the buyer or seller it's just between you and your,
CIS is just for our own office, yes. Signed by the client that you're working with, whether it's a buyer or seller.
Okay, but I made Ellie really suffer last time because she kept saying it needs to be signed on the same document by both buyer and seller.
Not the CIS, unless we misunderstood. In ideal world, the COVID form, yes, if at all possible. Some cases it's just not possible. But CIS,
Yes.
Colleen's 200% correct. CIS is just internally for ourselves with whoever you're working with. Now, if you have a buyer and a seller dual agency, then both parties would sign the document, but they would sign separately.
Okay, so I can actually submit the CIS that's only signed by the buyer because that's who
Yeah,
I'm working
on the
with.
form, it's a little deceiving because there is a spot, it's made for both buyer and seller situations. So, but whoever you're working with would be the party to sign it.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
thank you.
Okay.
Do we have the representative from Home Buyers Warranty?
Yes,
Where are they?
right here, Bill Thompson.
Hi, Bill.
Can you please tell us about this? This is so
Sure.
exciting that we have
Yes.
this at the Market Center now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Thompson. I am the local account executive from 210 Home Buyers Warranty. Just wanted to come today and do a quick introduction. We're going to be setting up some trainings here in the next few weeks so that everybody gets to know our home warranty product and what we can do for not only your buyers, as you can see as part of our name, but your sellers as well. So just a little background on us. The name 210 Home Buyers Warranty comes from where we started, which was actually in structural home warranty. So we worked in new construction to give 2 years of mechanical and 10 years structural. And then we moved over to the resale side and started on resale homes about 30 years ago. So like I said, we work with both sellers and buyers, and I look forward to working with everybody and getting those trainings set up and everybody good to go with the 210 Home Warranty. And like I said, my name is Bill Thompson. I'm here for anything that y'all might need. I live in Philadelphia myself, so kind of local, little bit. So anything that anybody needs, please feel free to reach out and just be on the lookout for those trainings.
Thank you so much, Bill. Any questions? I think Stephanie can also help you with this in the Market Center. But we're excited to have this service, available to everybody. And you're right. Sometimes this is a great gift for the sellers too, to have this on it also, not just for the buyers.
Exactly right.
Any questions for Bill, or are we good? Alyssa asked if we have some brochures.
Yes, so brochures should be available in the office. We are going to be on your online forms as well. We're just trying to get all of that solidified. We're still working on the rollout in general. But like I said, I just really wanted to come and say hello. But yes, brochures are available.
Okay, great. So I can see that we're losing people as we go. So I'm going to wrap it up with Cheers for Peers. And